Hey guys, my name's Ejaz Hussain. I'm a developer architect, work for a company called Advania UK. I'm also Microsoft MVP. Today I'm presenting a session on how to trigger a Power Automate flow, but with authenticated way. We can trigger non-authenticated way as well, but we're looking into the from authentication point of view. What if you want to, from the SPFx point of view, if you want to trigger the authenticated way. So let's dive into this one. So what's the problem space? So particularly in Power Automate Flow, we have a HTTP action where we can trigger multiple ways. One is we select the option as anyone can trigger, which is non-authenticated way, and which means that it's kind of the last resort or bad practice that we can't use in more if you have a enterprise level solution you're building, a demo is fine, but then you always don't go with this approach. You go more authenticated approach. You potentially can expose the business logic. Anyone can call this endpoint and trigger your flow. So that's one way of triggering the HTTP action. And another way is you select the one of the option available in the, we'll look into the demo later on, is any user in my tenants, which mean you're tied to the tenant itself. So there's another option as well, like you want to only allowing the specific user in my tenant. So the same principle will apply. From the SPFx, there's no change, but you can switch between any user or more specific user in my tenant. So you get the Azure AD authentication. Only tenant within your user can trigger the flow, user identities, and you can have a full trade, and you can pass some user who has triggered the flow as well, information, etc. So all we'll be doing from the SPFx. So now, what's the solution architecture look like? First of all, you go to SharePoint document library, you select a document, and I'm using the SPFx Command Set app. So it get initialized with AadHttpClient, passing the relevant scope for the Power Platform, and then Power Automate, and then you go and pass whatever the JSON body you want to pass, which is your selected document details or user detail, and then you go and trigger the hit submit, and then it get triggered the Power Automate flow behind the scene. Now, key component in here in the solution, we have SPFx ListView Command Set. We are using Microsoft Flow Service as under the user impressionate permission in the package solution.json. We are using AadHttpClient, which automatically inject the bearer token behind the scene. We don't have to use the MSL power, and then the Power Automate manual trigger get triggered. So Power Automate flow configuration. In here, we looking at, first of all, manual HTTP trigger, and who can trigger. We'll select any user in my tenant, or auth type. I think the auth type, it doesn't come over there. With tenant by default, when you select any user in my tenant, token required. Yes, we want token to be required. I think these two options are not, I think, visible in there in the action, if I remember correctly, but this one is available, who can trigger. And then you pass, this is a flow step. And at the moment, I have just the test for steps, like I'm getting the file and updated properties, etc. So, but you can build any business logic after that as well. So what's the request body JSON schema look like? Again, this is my personal choice that I'm testing for my test case. This could be anything. You can pass anything. So for me, I'm passing selected document here, like whatever the user has selected the document, ID, file ref. So just to understand in my flow, like what document I need to add some, do some operation on. And then with that selected document, I'm also passing who's the user who's triggered this, any other parameter. I've got origin secret, which is like my personal secrets, like a second checkpoint or firewall, I would just say. you want to check in your flow that yes, the request is only coming from the document library, nobody has used anywhere else, etc. That's you can use your own secret from here as well, and you can check Power Outflow. So what's the SPFx implementation look like? First of all, in package.json, we use Microsoft Flow service as a resource name. This is very important. And then use scope as a user underscore impersonation. So, and then once we got this defined, then you go to Flow service, initialize the AadHttp client with the service.flow Microsoft.com. So this is very important to do that here. So once your solution run, it automatically initializes the AadHttp client with this scope, and your client will be ready. And at the end, the third step is where we actually making a call, post request. So as you can see here, my flow service, AadHttp client post service, flow config.flow URL. This is the URL we will get. I'll show you in a minute from the Power Automate. And then you pass the request body, which we already seen previously, and then you go and send this request, and that will be automatically call your Power Automate flow. So what happened when we run the SPFx command set and dialog? So first on initialization, we go and initialize our flow service, and then once we select any document, we show our command set option that is available where you can trigger in the document library, and then we on execute, we go and capture the detail of that document, and then dialog get launched, which is where we trigger the flow. With the dialog statuses, like we have idle, loading, and once it's trying to follow trigger the flow, it's in the loading state. Once it's successfully triggered, then it show you the message bar has been triggered. It's very basic, simple, but that to give you an idea that this can be extended to the more advanced level as well. So let's look into the live demo. So in live demo, we'll see, open the document library, first of all, select the item, then we will go and trigger our command set, and then we'll see Power Automate as well, how it look like. So there you go. So I'm going to, let's say, select annual leave policy document, and then you go to trigger authenticated flow. I'll just is open up. I'm going to just click on here. So if it triggers, it will show you the flow had been triggered successfully. So I'm going to refresh this, and then I'll see. Yeah, 9 seconds ago. So this has been triggered. So if you go in here, you could see here it's I've got HTTP request has been came here and here. I'm passing just the origin secret. This is the site, tenant URL, etc. Selected item ID was, and what was the document, annual leave policy UK, etc. This is the information of all the body JSON which I have passed from my SPFx web part, and then I'm doing some operation just to see the flow is working. So if you go into the edit mode, now I wanted to show you this option, who can trigger the flow. This is where you select different option, which we talked about earlier. Anyone, specific user in my tenant. So in my case, anyone is the one which is authentication is not required. But this is the specific user in my tenant is required. Once you select this, this action will provide you this HTTP URL. You could see here just the API invoke. It doesn't have its own secret or anything. So you can, and we have to send a post request, authenticated post request to trigger that. And then this is the schema which I wanted to trigger. So now let me show you in the code what it looked like. So here, so we are in the command set. So we go and first of all, we initialize the command, which is the trigger trigger flow. You could see here, we initialize the command set. After that, we go ahead and in the show trigger dialog, we build the request body. You can build all of the parameters, whatever you want, user information, document information, etc. And then I'm passing this request body to trigger flow dialog. And if I go in here, in this one, and then I'm going to get this guy content. So here what happening is, so on when I click send. Within that, I'm calling my flow service and passing the request body. So in the flow service is happening in the initialization method, as we talked about earlier, we have this service.flow.microsoft.com to initialize the get client. And then in the trigger flow method, we are just making the post request to flow URL and the request body we got. So if you go to look at the flow URL, this is the same URL which I've shown you in the Power Automate. So you could see here, and with the invoke API version, etc. one. So yeah, so I'm using that, sending the post request. Very important is in this case, if you package your solution, so make sure this is the key. You have approved the permission before using this solution. That's all from my side. I have one last, let me just bring my slide back in here. So the last one is the key takeaway. Use the security first, like anyone user in my tenant is the security, so never expose any anonymous flow triggers. It uses AadHttpClient built in within SPFx. You declare the permissions in Pachyderm solution. You can pass rich context about your document or files, etc. And then you can build some more slick and advanced UI as well to show the user the progress, and it could be used across different SPFx solution as well. Same pattern, not just the command set. That's all from me. If you have any question,